Hello and welcome to Just Africa. Today we are diving into something a lot of us have either considered or heard or scrolled past on social media. That is the Japa phenomenon. Now, if you're a Nigerian or even just an African, chances are you have heard the word Japa. But it's more than a slang. It's a movement. It's a mindset. And some would even say it's a modern-day exodus. But what does it mean for how we as Africans are seen abroad, and how are we representing ourselves in non-African environment? So let's start off with the basic. Japa, what is Japa? Japa is a Yoruba word that means to flee or to run away. It has become a default way young Nigerians describe migrating out of the country, usually for education, better job opportunities, or simply a shot at a more stable life. Now, Japa isn't just about escaping hardship. It's also about chasing dream. It's about being tired of governance, unemployment, and insecurity, and saying, I deserve better. But does fleeing the country mean abandoning it, or is there more nuance? Now, for many, the promise of life abroad is a well-edited TikTok or a highlight reel on Instagram. But let's talk about the flip side. Africans in the diaspora often face racism, xenophobia, legal burdens, and the exhausting task of proving your worth over and over again. There is also culture shock. Now, you arrive at a particular place and realize, you realize your degree may not be recognized, or the accent. I mean, you can be misunderstood, the food, it's not the same, and suddenly you are balancing who you were at home with who you are trying to become abroad. Now, so the question is, what version of Africa are we showing? Are we ambassadors of the continent rising, or are we stuck in the narratives of poverty, escape, and suffering? Now, let's bring it home. The brain drain is real. Doctors, engineers, creatives, they are all leaving, but there's also the brain gain. Diaspora Africans are sending money home, building businesses, and even running offices. And in some cases, it's not just about leaving. Maybe Japa is evolving into a diaspora that builds bridges back to the continent and not just burn bridges. I am Olumide Sokoya. Of course, I'm not the only one here. I have my co-anchor, Oyinpreye Krumale. Good morning. How are you doing?
Good morning. Olumide, how are you? How was your weekend?
I'm fine.
Okay. Good morning to you, Nigerians. My name is Oyinpreye Krumale. It's a brand new week, and we're in it again.
Yes, so, we're looking at the Japa. So, first of all, let me ask you, why haven't you thought of Japa?
Okay. I've thought about it many times. And for me, I would not consider it or look at it from the lens of escaping. Okay. However, those who are escaping the country in forms of jackpine, I would not blame them at all for anything. I would not count them as those who have done anything wrong or those who are leaving their motherland or their fatherland. There is a reason why they leave their country and they don't want to come back. And that is a source of concern, even for the government of our country. Yes. And for the political elite, for the political leadership, when people leave, maybe not just any kind of people. We are talking about doctors. When we talk about nurses, yes. We talk about teachers, we talk about other experts in the Nigerian economy, in the whole of the country, and they are living, and some of them go as far as selling their personal properties, yes, and their houses just to leave the country. Why are they doing that? That should be a source of burden for the government. And except the government makes law, makes it an emergency, and try to churn out policies to address it, we're not going to go anywhere. But the thing is, I was somehow disappointed when the Nigerian doctors were leaving the country before now and have the government during the Muhammadu Buhari administration time ably represented by the former Minister of Labor, Senator Chris Ngige, who came out and it was, stiff-neck against Nigerian doctors leaving the shores of Nigeria. In fact, he had to even criticize them that most of you studied in this country to become, full-blown professional medical doctors, and then Nigeria has really supported you by subsidizing the amount of money you needed to spend in the university where you educated yourself. And now what is required of you is that you're supposed to give back to the society. But the Nigerian doctors, most especially represented by the National Association of Resident Doctors in Nigeria, came out to, rebuff or give a rebuttal that you have not provided me the needed environment to stay. You have not given me what is required to make a normal life. Sometimes I had to go on the street to protest as a doctor before I get my monthly salary paid. And here you have people from Saudi Arabia, organizations from the UK, from the United States of America, and from other places like the United Arab Emirates, looking at Nigerian doctors. And history had taught them that, look, these guys are well studied. They are known, and they've proven themselves not only locally in Nigeria, but also globally, and they are very, very competitive. In that sense, they came out and they started recruiting Nigerian doctors. So the government, if he is going to look at it, they came up with a policy that, look, you must, when you are certified as a professional doctor in Nigeria, you must be able to serve a 5-year term, 5 years before. That kind of policy is bad. It's a bad policy, and thank God we're done with that kind of policy. So if the government is going to treat Japa, not just in Nigeria, what the picture I just painted is all across the African continent. And if we are going to treat that to make sure that our best brains are not leaving the continent, they are not leaving our country to foreign shores. And we, our leaders are people who, journey outside the country a lot, and they've seen the way the brains and the experts in that climb, they are sustained. Then we should replicate the same plan, bring it back home and plant it to make sure that we keep our best brains here. If not, it's, for lack of a better word, whichever way government comes out against it, it's just going to be a story for the gods.
Quite an interesting one. So now let's look at, now, they say in every disappointment there's a blessing. As people are leaving this country, some are even coming into this country to invest. So it's a two-way thing. Now let's look at the representation, how we are represented outside. I know recently the United Kingdom, they are proposing stricter rules for their visa application. I think it has to do with, in a way, representation, or it has to do with how Nigerians are illegally entering the country or abusing these visa applications. And I remember when we spoke last week, we talked about, we even probed the United Kingdom that let them bring out this report, state the rate of crimes, the countries. Let's know who and who are perpetrating these crimes. So we know that, okay, if it's Nigeria, if it's this particular country, we know those who are perpetrating these crimes. Now, but let's stay on the positive side. Let's look at people who have actually represented us outside. One of the persons that come to my mind is Adebayo Ogunlesi. He's the chairman of Global Infrastructure Partners. In 2009, they bought the highest stake in the London Gatwick Airport. So basically, his company owns. Now, that is one of the people who are actually representing us. We have a whole lot. I mean, we have Shade Adu, we have Anthony Joshua, we have Adekayo Saka. We have a whole lot of these people who are, even Dr. Okonjo Iweala also. These are people who have gone out. They've really represented us well. And I think, yes, when you go out there, when you get, especially when you get to an airport, there's a way, or should I say, it's an allegation of how you're being treated. They say Nigerians, they tell you to go to this side, and the rest, you go to this side, and you're wondering. I mean, it's not encouraging. It doesn't really encourage the spirit of unity and global oneness and all that. So what do you think? Do you think more Nigerians are representing us well outside, or do you think, let's look at the aggregate?
Okay, for me, first of all, I like the names you mentioned. Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is the current Director General of the World Trade Organization, the first African woman to, to lead the World Trade Organization and to occupy that position as the Director General of the WTO. That's quite interesting. I like that. We can mention one guy, Mathai Wangari, who is an African that has really, promoted environment and the green energy and the greenery. Though she died, but she also won the Nobel Peace Prize. So if we look at Ellen Sirleaf, the former president, the first female president of Liberia. And she was the first person to occupy the presidential post in the whole of Africa, and she's a lady from Liberia, and she served from 2006 to 2000. I think she served for 12 years, from 2006 to 2018 as the president. Samia Hassan Suluhu, who is the current president of Tanzania, as we call herself, done well. She was a former vice president from 2015 to 2021. Now from 2021, now she's the current president of Tanzania. And let's not even forget that a whole lot of Africans and Nigerians who are doing us proud out there. So I don't really think the UK was talking about Nigerians. They were talking about criminals. And if we're talking about the current leader of the Conservative Party, Madam Kemi Madam Kemi Badenoch, that a lot of Nigerians have painted bad because of the way she speaks. She wasn't referring to Nigerians. She wasn't referring to Nigerians. So I think that's just what I have to say.
All right. Thank you very much for that. So today's topic is quite interesting. We will look at the Japa phenomenon. We're looking at the Japa phenomenon, diaspora representation on the African image and non-African environment. And joining us via Zoom is Mr. Joseph Agbor. He is a Nigerian in the diaspora, and so glad, to have him. Good morning and welcome to Just Africa.
Good morning, thank you.
All right, so glad to have you here with us, joining us, and of course, we would like to get some of your experiences, the culture shock, everything that you went through. So let me start by this very first question. What led you to Japa? Was there a particular moment where you decided that, oh, I've had enough of this place, I am leaving? Let's have your thoughts.
Well, thank you for having me. I relocated for family reasons. It's not for economic reasons. I simply relocated because of family reasons. I got married and then we decided to relocate. That is why I relocated. So it's not for any economic reasons. There are so much great opportunities in Nigeria, and which could be explored. So my decision to relocate was not in search of greener pasture. It was just for family reasons.
We have Joseph Agbor. He's a Nigerian in the diaspora right here with us, and we're discussing the Japa phenomenon. So over to you, Joseph Agbor. All right, while we get him back, we were talking about Kemi Badenoch. Now, Kemi Badenoch, a lot of Nigerians have this disposition, let me put it that way, mildly, towards some of her ideologies about, what she feels about people coming into the country and people leaving the country. And a lot of people believe that it is really targeted at Nigerians. Let's put it that way. What do you think?
I don't think she's targeting Nigerians. Kemi Badenoch is the leader of the Conservative Party. The last time the Conservative Party was at the helm of affairs, the life Prime Minister was Rishi Sunak, who was there from 2022 to 2024. And now Labour has taken over. If you look at the history of the United Kingdom, you could see that Labour, the Conservative Party, is the political party that has always, produced the prime ministers. And each time Labour comes in to settle the move, there's a particular time that the Conservative Party occupied power for even like 4 consecutive prime ministers. So as we speak to you, Madam Badenoch is an opposition leader, and she's just doing the work of an opposition. And if we're to make comparisons, it's because Ms. Kemi Badenoch is a Nigerian. Nigeria being the most populous black nation in the world, and also Nigeria having about 300 or 400,000 Nigerians living in the United Kingdom. And it calls for concern, most especially with some of the statements she has made in the past that she grew up, when she was growing up in Nigeria, some of the bad things or some of the things that she experienced in Nigeria, which she has not experienced in the UK. Not to say that it has not existed in the UK, but in the United Kingdom presented a more, objective, a more free society, a more liberal society. And in a recent video, she was mentioning some of these liberal values like free speech, equality under the law, freedom, the presumption of innocence, where both the poor and the rich are treated equally in society. These are more like luxury in the political setting and in a social setting in Nigeria. So when she was speaking, she was not targeting Nigeria. She was just saying, because she's a Nigerian, Nigerians are going to respond to that. And I remember a minister equally himself responded, or the vice president, there is no need for that. She is doing the work of an opposition. And one of the jobs of an opposition is to bring out policies and to intimate the people that, look, we can present you a former government, a better government, a better administration by taking care of the ills in society. And some of the ills in society have been constituted by migrants that come into our country. And unfortunately, Africans happen to be part of it.
All right, we have Joseph Agbor on the line via Zoom. It's glad to have you back again.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so I was asking earlier on what made you decide that you were leaving the country, and how has it been so far, looking back the years that you've spent in the United Kingdom? Do you say it was worth that decision?
Yes, I don't know if you heard me the first time. My decision to relocate is on because of for family reasons. I got married. My wife was domiciled in the United Kingdom, so I joined. That was over 12 years ago. So about 12 years ago. So it's got nothing to do with looking for greener pastures, stuff like that. It's just family reasons, and we decided to live in the United Kingdom.
So another question, do you see yourself returning permanently, or it's bye-bye Nigeria?
Well, I've got 4 lovely kids, and they were all born here, and are all living in the United Kingdom. Yeah, there are chances, never say never. There are chances that I may relocate at some point, but I intend to do some things in Nigeria business-wise. So definitely I will be touching home regularly. And maybe at some point in the future, I don't know if I'm going to relocate permanently.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Joseph Agbor. You are a legal consultant. So I would like to pick your mind, your thoughts concerning recent development, most especially by the leader of the Conservative Party, Madam Kemi Badenoch, whom whenever she comes to the press or to speak to the public about migrants, and she's pushing a recent bill in Parliament, Nigerians seem to take offense because they feel that she's demarketing Nigeria, demarketing Africa, and that she's trying to block Nigerians or other Africans from coming to the United Kingdom. What's the perspective?
All right. So as for Kemi, right, she is the leader of the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom at the moment. I'm a member of the Conservative Party, and she's the leader of the Conservative Party. And one of the cheap cards that most opposition play when they want to win voters and stuff like that is they play the card of immigration. I remember I attended a conservative conference in 2013, and you can see the banner. It was that conference was held in Manchester. I think it should be that September or October 2013. The banner strictly says, "So cut down immigration, not to control." So their aim then was to cut down immigration. So immigration was a score point for most political parties. As far as Kemi is concerned, I know she's not going anywhere with the Conservative Party. She is just they are just fronting her to be the party that has shown. Don't forget that Conservative is the only party that has presented a female prime minister in the past. We've had Margaret Thatcher, and then we've had Theresa May. So they are using it as a ploy, diversity ploy, and now she's the first minority black, rather, from the black ethnic minority. She's the first black person to be the leader of any party, of any major party in the United Kingdom. So as for our comments generally is not targeted towards Nigerians. That's one thing some people should understand. I know she did grant an interview when she talked about her experience in Nigeria, but our recent comments, especially push for immigration reform, is not targeted at Nigerians. It's targeted at immigrants. Immigrants include those from Africa, those from Asia, even those from Europe now, because right now the United Kingdom is not in the EU, and because we are not in the EU, that free movement is no longer there. So the policies she's pushing for is not targeted at Nigerians, it's not targeted at Africans, it's targeted at immigrants, generally speaking.
Thank you very much. Now, so what role do you think the diaspora plays in shaping how the world views Africa?
You see, I think there is a misconception. A lot of people think that it is what the individuals do that determines the image of a country in the international world. I don't agree with that. What determines the image of a country is the government, its policies, its respect for human rights, and its rule of law, not what the individuals do. So I know sometime in during the time of Goodluck Jonathan, when we still had the late Dora Akunyili, right? I think that's her name. Then the Director General of NAFDAC. She was later minister for, I can't remember the portfolio she held then, but she tried to rebrand Nigeria, right? She did some rebranding stuff, but again, I'll say this again, it is not what the individuals do, because individuality does not determine the image of the collective. It is the collective image that rubs off on the individuals. So you may be a very honest person, right? You have integrity. If the value of your passport or the perception of the international community of your country is not so great, you will suffer when you get to the borders of some other countries. But if you're even the worst criminal and you have the passport of a country that's got good reputation internationally, you can easily, very, very easily cross borders. What am I trying to say? What determines the image of a country is not the action or inactions of the individuals. I agree that those have little roles to play here and there, but generally speaking, it is the outlook of the government, your economic policies, your respect for human rights, and rule of law in your country. Those are the indices that actually determines how the international community views you.
Let me quickly ask this question. There's a new policy Nigeria has brought up, the Nigeria First policy, which it's going to give room for the federal government, state government to procure made in Nigeria goods and services. Do you think that would also help in shaping our image outside the country?
Well, if we do made in we embark on made in Nigerian goods, right? And then we are also able to um, capitalize on exporting our made in Nigeria goods, then obviously it's going to a large extent put our country in good light. Now, the China we're talking about today, some years back, China was not a country to reckon with, right? But one of the things that has made China so popular in the world today is their exports, their manufacturing capacity, and then they're exporting all over the world. And then number two, it's aside from shaping our image as a country, it also helps strengthen our naira, the naira, because right now the naira is very, very weak. Some people argue that the government of the day, is good for the naira. Some says, oh, the policy of the government is what is destroying the naira and stuff like that. Well, whichever school of thought you belong to, if a country exports, a country is deeply involved in export, it helps their currency. So yes, it's going to help the country economically, which is good because, like I said before, the economics, the economy of a country, the political stability of a country, the respect for rule of law, the respect for human rights in a country, all of these are factors that play, in shaping the image of any country. So yes, if it's going to help in the economic front.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, let me take you to another side of our concern today. The United Kingdom and the United States of America, the remittances from the diaspora from these two countries to the sub-Saharan African country is about $54 billion. And Nigeria alone, gets remittance of $35 billion from that large chunk, about 35%. I beg your pardon, about 19 and $20 billion, which represents about 35% or more. Let's assume that this law of deportation and visa strict rules that Madam Badenoch is pushing, or the Conservative Party is pushing, goes through. Where do you think we'll stand? Because it also constitutes a large amount for which we use to pay foreign exchange, and also it has a way of enhancing our economic market and our capital market.
Okay, let me correct some misconceptions. So I think she granted an interview very recently, a couple of days ago, and people were making different comments about our interview. Let me put perspective to it. So when in the UK, when we talk about deportation, deportation is only used for foreign criminals. I repeat myself. I'm talking as an immigration lawyer, so it's my area of expertise. Deportation is only used for foreign criminals that have been found guilty and have done their time, and there's certain threshold you must meet. And after that, the Home Office can then commence deportation proceedings against you. That is what she was talking about. If you listen to her interview carefully, she said deportation of foreign criminals. There is no society that wants to allow criminals in their society, whether if there's a way they can even remove their indigenous criminals, they're going to do that. Then talk less of somebody who is a foreigner. So that I just feel it's good to clear that to clear the air on that. It's deportation has to do with, I don't know, for America, I don't know, the terminologies are different, but in the UK we don't use deportation for somebody who has overstayed. They are considered overstayer. They can commence removal proceedings against you, but the process for removal proceedings is very, very tedious. It's not as easy as deportation. You get my point? You can even, on grounds of private and family life, you can even challenge the decisions of the Home Office. But I don't want to go into the technicality. So let's clear the air. What she was talking about is deportation of foreign criminals. Then number two, as regards the policy, yes, people should understand that. I know a lot of Nigerians who are emotional about this, but the truth is that the duty of a government is to protect its borders, right? let me go back historically. There was a time that in Nigeria where they were having a problem, they were having problems in Ghana, and you had a lot of people immigrating into Nigeria from Ghana. And what happened? Nigerians themselves, they protested. And that is where that coinage of that bag they called Ghana must go came from, right? That was Nigerians protesting for Ghanaians to leave Nigeria. That has even happened in Africa, where in Ghana, in recent times, I'm not justifying all of those. All of those are they're not great. You Ghanaians. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about sub-Sahara African countries asking Nigerians to leave their country. That also happened in South Africa. As a matter of fact, that of South Africa, there was some element of violence involved. If the country is saying, if she is saying that, listen to me, the level of immigration is too much, we need to control it, we need to put measures to control it. It's not targeted at Nigerians, it's targeted at immigrants. And that is the role of a government. The role of a government is to protect, apart from the territorial integrity of their country, they also have to protect the economics, protect their citizens and stuff like that. She is not saying no immigration. She's just saying sensible migration. And as regards diaspora remittance, listen, that will not stop it because Nigerians are here. It doesn't mean that every Nigerian who is here will be removed from the country. No, they're still earning, they're still working, and obviously, the longer they stay in the country, the higher their chances of getting um, settlements in the country. So settlement simply means in the form of indefinite leave to remain or probably obtaining the British passports. So a lot of the Nigerians who send money to Nigeria and they actually own they're actually citizens of the United Kingdom. They've got British passports. So that doesn't remove the Nigerianness in them, and they can still support Nigerians the way they've been doing. But all in all, what we should be looking at is how to develop our economy in such a way that we are not dependent on diaspora remittance to survive in Nigeria. Because the state of the country at the moment is not so great. That is why people have to look at for help to their relatives who are abroad.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Joseph Agbor, if you are looking for the time where Nigeria will no longer depend on foreign remittance, I don't think that time is going to come anytime soon. I just wanted to put that out before I ask my next question. Now, I want to bring out some of the laws, the deportation bill, some of which Madam Badenoch stated. She said, deport all foreign criminals. Yes, I think you've addressed that part. She said, mandatory age checks, tougher visa rules, disapply the Human Rights Act to immigration cases. As an immigration lawyer, I'll need you to throw more light on that, most especially with Nigeria in the center of the picture. Disapply the Human Rights Act to immigration cases and make asylum support repayable. I mean, these are very, very stringent rules that could have a very, very devastating effect of Nigerians going to the UK to go make even a genuine living for themselves.
No, all of these that you mentioned does not affect those who are legally in the UK. All the things you mentioned does not apply to those who are legally in the UK. It only applies to those who are seeking asylum are people who probably for convention reasons. Let's say you fear persecution because of your political inclination, your religious affiliation, your sexual orientation, and so on and so forth. And Nigerians generally, it's not a very very it's not a popular thing among Nigerians to seek asylum. So if you countries like Eritrea and Ethiopia, Sudan, those countries that have serious civil unrest going on, they are the countries that will be mostly affected by this asylum seeking stuff. Those on that refugee convention. So all the things you listed, she only said tougher immigration rules. That's to say there should be a lot more scrutiny, because what happens is this. When people come into the country, right? When you come in and you claim to be a child under 18, right? The process of removal becomes very, very complicated. So that's why she was talking about the age verification. So you can have somebody who is 30 claiming to be 16. And because you are 16, they're not going to detain you. They're going to provide accommodation for you. She also talked about that asylum support. In
Asylum
what
support to
context?
be repayable. Yes, go on.
In the UK. Can you hear me?
Clearly, we can hear you clearly.
Yes. So if you seek asylum in the UK, right, even before you are granted, there are certain support that the government gives to you. So there should be a context to read. Well, she just outlined it. I've not seen the document to see specifically how she wants it to be implemented, right? Then I think you did mention
Tougher visa application, tougher visa rules, yes.
yes, tougher visa rules, yes. She did mention tougher visa rules, but again, tougher visa rules is a generic statement. What she means by tougher visa rules, I don't know. If it means that, oh, we should scrutinize more closely those who are allowing into the country, then of course that's a welcome development. But that is just a general statement. So what she means by tougher visa rules, I can't speak to that. Then she talked about the application of human rights, right?
Disapply Human Rights Act to immigration cases.
Okay, so when the United Kingdom was part of the EU, there's what we call Article 8 rights. Article 8 rights protects the private and family life of those who are in the United Kingdom that the government does not have the right to interfere. So what happens is that immigrants come in 1 year, 2 years. Let's say they are not able to renew their visa. They then apply to stay in the UK based on their Article 8 rights. Whether they're going to succeed or they're not going to succeed is a different ball game. They just apply and then challenge the decisions. If the decision of the Home Office is not favorable, they then challenge it. That is the procedure a lot of people take. So she's saying so what she's referring to is Article 8 rights. That Article 8 right that protects interference with your private and family life. This is with respect to the context is within the context of immigration, not any other thing. The context is immigration, where somebody comes to the UK and then for some reasons they are not able to renew, they now rely on Article 8 right. She's saying that should not be applicable in some cases to immigrants. Again, the context is immigration wise. She's not saying that people should be discriminated against. It's just saying when we are dealing with immigration cases, we should not be applying Article 8 rights, which is family and private life, to immigrants who have only been in the UK for a couple of years, and then they want to claim that they are entitled, their private life in the UK should not be interfered by immigration processes to remove them from the United Kingdom. That's what all she's referring to. I'm just giving context to it.
All right, so in rounding up, what advice would you give anyone planning to Japa? I mean, you were lucky, or should I say, not everyone would have the luxury of getting married to a British citizen. So what advice would you give those who are planning to emigrate?
It's your choice. So if you want to relocate, it's your choice. Obviously, don't be scared by all the things you see in the news. There are legitimate ways to relocate. And if you relocate legitimately, legally, nobody can remove you from the country. We're in a country where law and order is respected. I can tell you there are several cases I've been involved in where the Home Office commences removal proceedings against somebody, and then the person is even there are even 2 cases in particular where these people were already put on a plane, and we commenced judicial review proceedings, and a judge just gives an order and says, don't remove this person until I have the opportunity of looking at the case. The Home Office had to, in 2 cases I have been personally involved in, had to get into the flights. Luckily for the people, the plane has not moved. The Home Office had to get into the flight to get the individuals out of the plane. That's because law is respected in this country. You understand? There's a rule of law in this country. It goes back to what we were talking about the image of a country where the rule of law prevails in the country, where there's respect for human rights of a country. It is not what the individuals are saying. Those are the things that determine the image of a country internationally. A lot have argued that, oh, when you go to social media and you complain about what is happening in Nigeria, you're demarketing Nigeria. That is not true. Even the locals in the United Kingdom, they complain about this country. Go to America, Americans complain about their country. There's no country in the world where the individuals do not complain about their country. It is because you are not in their circle. So if you're not in their circle, you will not know what is going on. So every country, individuals always have things to say about their country. That does not affect the image of the country. What affects the image of a country is the government policies, the respect for human rights, the respect for the rule of law, our economic situation. Those are the fundamentals that affect the image of a country internationally.
Thank you very much. This is a safe place to land. We do appreciate your thoughts. Thank you very much. All right, so we'll take a short break. And while we're at it, let's have Cashcraft. The topic for today is going green, cashing in the horticulture hustle. Stay with us.
Welcome to Cashcraft, the show that turns your skills and ideas into serious income. Whether you're just getting started or you're already in the business, we'll bring you practical tips, fresh opportunities, and real stories to help you grow, literally and financially. I am Grace Komolafe, and today we are digging into horticulture, a vibrant green world where beauty meets business. Ask me why horticulture, and I will give you a mind-blowing answer. So here is it. Horticulture isn't just about flowers. It's food, income, wellness, and sustainability rolled into one. From fresh fruits to ornamental plants, it boosts nutrition, urban design, environmental health, and jobs. With climate concerns rising and food needs increasing, horticulture is fast becoming the new oil. But where is the cash? Let's break it down. 7 green paths to profit, and I take it from 1. Plant nursery. Raise and sell seedlings, ornamental trees, herbs, shrubs. From balcony plants to estate palms, people pay to green their spaces. And 2, landscaping. Design and maintain outdoor spaces for homes, estates, offices. Think aesthetics plus recurring contracts. And 3, garden maintenance. Offer pruning, pest control, soil treatment, and seasonal cleanups. A steady side hustle for trained hands. And we move to 4, horticultural farming. Now, grow fruits, veggies, flowers, or herbs. Go organic, go premium. Target hotels, health stores, and home markets. And we move to 5, consulting. Breed new plants, varieties, advise firms, or supply rare seeds. If you're skilled, your knowledge becomes a product. And we move to 6, product marketing. Sell fertilizers, potting soils, seeds, tools, and even ready-to-use grow kits. Offline or online, green goods move. Tip number 7, training or education. You can host workshops, classes, or start a YouTube channel. Gardeners, enthusiasts, and students are hungry to learn. Now, whichever paths you choose, start with research. Visit local horticultural centers. Understand what grows in your region. Learn from experts. Your first harvest may not bring millions, but with time, this business roots deep. Remember, success in horticulture isn't only about soil, it's about strategy. So here is your takeaways. In a world choking on stress, pollution, and processed food, green is gold. Horticulture is low entry, high potential, and if done right, it fits both the body and the bank account. So, what number are you reaching for on our list of 7? All right, that's it for today on Cashcraft. Until next time, I am Grace Komolafe, helping you plant ideas that pay right here on Cashcraft.
Welcome back. This is Just Africa, and you just watched the video, Cashcraft, and the topic was cashing in on the horticulture hustle. You know, I remember during Babatunde Raji Fashola's administration, when he was all go green, plant trees, plant this and that. And Lagos is really hot, and that is, and of course we have houses everywhere. People are building houses. You know, there should be some sort of space. I think it's about 5 meters from the main road and from your house to the next house and all that. So he was trying to create an atmosphere whereby, you know, to reduce the humidity, or how will I put it, in Lagos. Also, we remembered vividly well when the First Lady of Nigeria, Remi Tinubu, a video went viral of her planting tomatoes, and she was encouraging Nigerians to also try and plant, you know, things in their backyards. You know?
Yes, I think one of the reasons why Fashola did that was it's not far-fetched. The sun is quite sunny, and in Lagos, making sure that during that time, when he was actually building roads in Lagos, there were actually spaces for trees to be planted in the middle of the city. If you go to the Federal Capital Territory, it's a culture that is well adopted by the administration, and it should be replicated all around the country, where we plant trees in the middle of it. And remember, the government spent lots of money in doing that. The thing is, it's about policy that each administration made. When the next administration is coming to the saddle, it should be sustained. When it is not sustained, you know, it brings this abrupt, you know, sudden extinction of that particular policy. And if the particular policy is serving a good purpose in society, then you bring that to end. The encouragement that the First Lady did is to make sure that Nigerians, in fact, most Nigerians that engaged in subsistence farming started from, you know, this horticultural practice of, you know, planting. There's a bucket somewhere, and they're putting some plants in it. In fact, when children go to school, when they go to school, they are taught about this, you know, practice of practicing horticulture, and that, you know, affords them the ability to even engage in rare studies like soil science and plant science, which, you know, they could see the art of planting a bean seed into a bucket or into a container, and they've been taught by their teachers to nurture it, to watch it grow. They see the development of it like something that's magical, and they intend to want to engage in that practice, and we should encourage that. It's most of the things that we speak about, if we started it from the grassroots and we sustain it, we'll get somewhere beneficial with it.
Do you think the horticulture business in Nigeria, do you think it's a profitable business? And looking at the business aspect of it, we see all them on the roads. If you're driving past, you see them on the roads and all. Do you think it's a profitable?
Okay, probably maybe we need to speak with some of those persons, because when you're passing through Western Avenue, I'm talking about the Ikorodu Road, there are some places where you see by the side of the road, you see this horticulturalist, and you see a wide array of flowers. So the business side of it is, how much do Nigerians appreciate flowers? Okay, maybe when you are celebrating a Valentine, or you are celebrating the love season, maybe you should try it by taking a bowl of flower to your loved one and get the reaction from them. Do they appreciate, is it a culture in this climate where we adopt using flowers, except for some other people who have actually experienced vast, they've traveled far and wide, and they understand the importance and the significance of having flowers in your, or having a garden around you, because then you need to employ a gardener, or probably you need to develop a time. You need to develop time for you to, you know, carry out that act yourself. If not, and if we don't, if a large population of Nigerians are not those who appreciate flowers, who know, they have different species of flowers they know, and the use for it, the benefit of it, I don't think the business is really going to sell. the market will be very, very slim. However, I wouldn't leave it at that. Maybe we'll have to speak to one these days so that we can understand the business part of it, the social part of it, the cultural part of it, and how we can make it grow.
I know growing up too, my mom had a garden at the backyard, and she was always planting different leaves, vegetables, which we consume. And there were some leaves she would tell you that this leaf is actually good, it's healing, it's that for those who are really into this, what they call Agbor herbs. You know, there's a type of plant you plant at the back of your, garden and all that, or your backyard, and, it helps. It actually helps because, if you look at it, people, Nigerians or scientists are now looking into herbs, natural herbs, to cure certain diseases. So it's a win-win for all of us. This is where we would draw the curtains on today's Just Africa. It's been a pleasure joining us and watching us. Until next time, I am Olumide Sokoya.
And I'm Oyinpreye Krumale, signing out on Just Africa.